Good afternoon. This is Thamir Alhammad from Saudi Telecom, STC Solutions. I'm glad to have this presentation for you. I will be speaking about the automation. And I will be speaking about our experience with automation in different angle about what others spoke about. So mainly I will be focusing about the automation during the implementation of networks and the implementation for testing, automation for testing and automation during operation. It will not be something about theoretical. It's about something we have done and we are doing today. So we'll be sharing our experience. Actually, the majority of things which will be shown is not available to sell, but actually we are using for our customers. So we are sharing our experience, and there are things which we believe that if you use for yourself as a service provider or working with service provider, it will be very beneficial. So to start with, I will be starting to speaking about what is STC. STC is the biggest service provider in Saudi Arabia and one of the biggest in the Middle East, and maybe is the biggest by far. So STC Solution is a subsidiary owned by STC, and it's fully owned by STC. So the numbers are not published, but because it's private owned by STC. However, it's a system integrator. It's growing quickly. And according to IDC, for 4 years in a row, we become the biggest ICT service provider in Saudi Arabia. And we are serving B2B customers, and we are serving the service provider side. Because we are legally independent, we are dealing with STC as a customer. So we have a procurement cycles going through RFPs, and we need to optimize our costs, and we have our own P&Ls. And that's why you see the exercise, even though we are part of the group, we're still trying to optimize our costs and trying to do things differently in order to reduce the cost. So I will be discussing here the challenges that we are facing when we deal with service provider networks. And the nature of networks of service provider, they keep modernized. They are going from 2G to 3G to 4G, 5G now, and people are speaking about virtualization. A few years ago, they were speaking about hardware only. People before, they used to speak about analog to digital migration. They were speaking about ATM to IP. They start to speak about the MPLS and Ethernet transformation. And lately, they start speaking about segment routing. Technology keeps changing. And those changes are needed and necessarily while they're carrying business-critical applications. And when you say business-critical, you could imagine if your major service provider are going through outage of network. All the services could run, and some countries which face this, they went through disaster. And by nature, service providers are working in multi-vendor environment. It's becoming now a de facto standard that service providers like to work with multi-vendors, and they don't want to be locked in with one vendor, especially when you become big and huge. And because of the common threats that are coming, continuous upgrades, it's becoming mandatory. It used before the continuous upgrades are needed just because they need to add features. Nowadays, because of the threats and which we have, upgrades are needed and it's a must to have. And because of the nature, what we explained before, mega migrations are needed. If you think about service provider, speaking about Saudi, number of customers are around 30 million to 20 million. So when you speak about this kind of range, mega migrations, when it happens, are needed and need to be planned thoughtfully. So we learned the hard way. However, Gartner now is saying that automation is no longer optional. I need to be clear that in our case, we went through some mistakes before, and after those mistakes, we discover out that we need to do more automation, and automation is not an option. And it's better that to decide to go that path from now if you haven't seen a problem so far, because if you didn't do, you will hit it sometime. So in our case, and based on our experience, I could see the journey in 3 different categories, or 3 different stages. First stage, that you need to prepare for automation. Then you need to automate your infrastructure delivery. Then you need to automate your delivery process. I will be explaining each stage to be clear about the steps itself. The first, and I expect many people could ignore or could not give attention, is when you do any opportunity for automation, you need to think about the human factors. So you need to define first the opportunity for automation. And the first thing you need to think about your day-to-day steps and think about the boring jobs which your employees are doing. And the best thing is start by asking the employees by thinking about themselves, about their own problems. Define your scope for the problem and make it very specific. Then to justify the problem, because definitely we need to spend some money, you need to do some cost-benefit analysis. However, when you do cost-benefit analysis, you don't need to drill about very sophisticated business case. Just use your best guess, and hopefully things will work out. However, you need to trust that machines are doing better than humans. And that's happening especially when you go to high-level scale. So when you go to the human factor, you need to add the roles and responsibility for the employees to add automation on it. You need to change their KPIs. And this needs to become part of their mandate to do it. You need to hire a dedicated team just to do those kinds of automation. When you say a dedicated team, that means you need to have resources doing something different than day to day. For example, if you have an IP network engineers, you need to maybe to hire developers who are thinking about Python and Java. That used to be before a luxury, not needed. Now it's becoming mandatory. You need a different skill set. You may think to reskill some existing resources to do another things which usually they don't do before, because they need to think about a new way of doing things. And very important, this is not, as I said, this is mandatory. So you need to review the execution. Whatever I'm showing here is our dashboard, which we use to review in weekly manner about the progress and the automation. This is very important that for the team. Actually, we put it inside their offices so they could see it every day to see how is our progressing and see the importance of the automation. Now, when you prepare for automation, there are two sides. There is one side from the system integrator, and there is another side from the service provider. And the importance for it is from system integrator, you need to be open to use new tools, a new technology. And you need to have an automation lab, because definitely you will fail. And definitely there will be mistakes. That's something expected. And you need to apply agile development. Waterfall, no way it could work in these cases, because you need to have some tests and you need to apply some features and return back and do some another test after that. From service provider, you need to be open to discuss the challenges. If you don't have the information, be open to discuss that you don't have information. If the information are not accurate, just say it to the system integrator that those information already shared, but they're not accurate. You need to start the risk if not, you need to think and understand the risk of not doing automation. And definitely you need to start do the virtualization if you are not, because that's a new gen and a new shift in your mind. So virtualization needs to be there in your network. So the first tool which we used, actually we developed, called the SmartBot. And this is a tool that we developed just to deploy for our mega projects, especially for STC, to deploy. So we have a tool, it's a set of tools that we developed in order to optimize our progress and automation. When you go to legacy network, definitely there are multiple activities. So you have configuration, migration, management, testing, deployment, and operation. Those usually you do in a legacy network. And when you have a new network, you will have a migration, configuration, staging, that definite activities that needed. When we do in the SmartBot, we have multiple bots, what we call bots, which each of them serve a certain function that are needed. So one of them, for example, is a migration bot. There used to be a massive migration needed for an old systems, and we figure out that the information accuracy are not high, and the number of customers, number of circuits are in 100,000, and we need to migrate the services over a small window overnight, and we need to make sure there are no outages to happen. And you think about it that the challenges could happen, that it could be somebody from the Prime Minister could do a call, or it could be the Ministry of Defense having an important circuit carry traffic. Those kind of traffic are definite in your service provider. And you need to do the migration overnight. Doing the migration overnight, the challenge with it is sometimes the customer will know that there is an outage of the network in the morning after finishing the maintenance downtime. So it's simply that to check the service before and after, and if things are working fine, it will give you green, and if things are not working fine, it will give red. So it will be very easy to engineer to review, and it will be very live and automated way to check the activities. In our experience, it saves a lot, and it's becoming now a mandatory tool for any migrations. The to and after could be anything. Could be, for example, could be different operating system, could be two different vendors, could be legacy and virtualization. The only thing is you need to develop plugins for before and after. Last year, we did 10,000 activities in the STC network. And that's huge. And those kind of activities could be anything. Could be simple configuration for QoS, or it could be card swap, or could be installing a new device, or it could be bringing a new uplink or changing another uplink. With those activities are huge, you need to make sure that whatever have been done, it's done in a proper way not to bring out your network. That's why we do all the configuration need to be staged and need to be done through a specific tool called configuration bot. Using this, our experience, and you see the numbers here, are becoming 92% we save in our man days. Not only this, and actually we changed some of the senior engineers instead of doing the job to be done by junior engineers. So we could increase our efficiency more than before and enhance our quality. Staging, definitely service provider, if they are expanding, definitely they keep bringing new devices. When they bring new devices, you need to take out those new devices, and you need to make sure that they configure the right way. When you stage, one of the challenges are that the operating system keep updating. So sometimes over the night, they change the operating system. And you need to make sure that the operating system is very updated. So we have staging tool just to do those kind of updates for us. Our experience, it saved us 80% of the man days. And again, it makes the configuration to be done easier by junior engineers instead of senior engineers. We believe that we need to add more services in the future, and we believe that we need to add end-to-end monitoring, and we believe in the future we will add artificial intelligence and RPA in some of the deployment of smartphones in the future. Another tool which is very important, called STEAM, STCS, Testing Environment and Automation Management. This is very important because we are speaking about here now VNF. When you speak about virtualization and telco cloud, definitely you will have multi-vendors, and if you see the agenda, you will see a huge number of vendors are participating here, and multiple systems need to work together, and you have many ongoing threats are coming. Because you have this mixed environment, testing becoming necessary. So we have a system which we developed that to do behavior-driven testing approach, and to do continuous testing, and to do continuous reporting. So we keep getting reports about what have been done, if it's successful or not. The good thing about it is that it has been designed in a way so all the tests to be automated, to have a catalog to select which tests to be done, and to agree which tests, how tests will be done. And the good thing about it keep automate the reports. So you could keep monitor whatever you are doing and how you are doing. And by the way, I cannot go into details here because of the time, but it is available in our booth. So if you go to STC Solutions booth, you could see there and you could see screenshots about how it works. RPA, I like one of our colleagues who presented, and he said that for the RPA, it's called external integration for automation. There are things usually to work together, they require API, and you could do integration through what they call it internal integration for automation. However, there are sometimes you need to take the principle as if there is employee and how the agent go through with multiple systems. Because in our case, because we are working as another legal entity, sometimes when you work in a systems, you will have two different systems you cannot integrate. And when I say you cannot integrate, maybe technically it cannot, or because it's out of your scope to integrate them, or maybe you didn't have the capability to integrate because of the time. RPA in general is not the cheapest way to do integration, but from my experience, it's a very useful way. So I will be sharing, definitely they have a huge number of use cases, and the use cases could having to technical function or non-technical functions. We are using Git a lot, and we figure out there are good use cases for benefit. What I will be discussing here, I will discuss two use cases for routine and maintenance activities, which we have. So we have to, in broadband environment, you will have, it's normal that you will have your modems or the DSL modems or ONTs will be moved from one house to another house without your information, because some people are giving it to their neighbor or giving it to their friends, and we get a mismatch between the home subscriber ID and the device itself. In order to fix this, so we have integration between RBA to integrate between the AAAs and between home device management. We did this checks to figure out the match and correct all the errors. It happens to be done twice a day or 3 times a day. To be honest, I forgot. But when you do it 3 times a day, it saves a lot of calls for our call center. So it reduced the OpEx big time, and it was very easy. It cost us only 3 days to do all the activities for RBA, but to save a lot of activity for our call center. Another case, which we have a AAA information for the speed, different than the CRM. To understand it, think about it if you are subscribing for a broadband provider in 100 meg, and actually you are getting 200 meg. So they are giving you 200 meg for free. In this case, this mismatch, that means service provider losing money. The customer in this case will not complain because he's getting better service than before. However, you're losing money, so there is a revenue leak. With check we're doing daily, we saved a lot of money just because, and it cost us less than 5 days implementation for the RBA. So we saved a lot of activities, and we save a lot of money using RBA. After we adapt the automation, we start to think about the automation in a different way. So we start to automate even submitting the timesheets. We start to automate monitor even the log reports and generating the reports for our implementation. We have even the dashboards, everything are automated to monitor the traffic, monitor what we are doing, and monitor where we are going. And we believe that what we are doing are not very scientific, not patent. We are not doing something which require a very hard work, to be honest. The only thing are those use cases we have done in ourselves. So I believe that this is good opportunity for you as a service provider to do it for yourself, and you could benefit out of it. And it saved a lot of time for us, and it saved and it create better quality for ourselves. Thanks, and appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Thamir. Appreciate it. We have a couple of minutes for questions. Any questions? Yes? No? I know there's lunch, but that's not an excuse for not asking questions. Come on. No? Oh, Dan. Okay. Go ahead. Oh, it's all Dan's fault that you're late for lunch, by the way, just so you know. Dan Pitt. Yes, go ahead. There's a mic coming. Hang on. There's a mic coming.
Great. Thank you very much for your talk. And looks like having success automating a lot of internal processes. How do you extend this to automating service delivery?
Our next step is that to take the mentality now, this mentality, and apply it in how we are doing in daily operation. So the things which we are showing for the RPA, we're trying to do it a different way, so it will be part of our daily operation. We are doing some discussion about end-to-end orchestration, and there are some discussion, and we have seen some success. I need to admit that still not have been launched, but I expect it to be launched soon.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.